The issue of access to abortion is a dicey issue for many people. I've made the case many times. I am absolutely, unequivocally pro-life. That is my stance. That is my personal belief. I also realize I do not live in a vacuum where I control things. I look at the landscape around me. If asked, I will tell somebody why I'm pro-life. If somebody wanted my advice, I would give it, and it would be pro-life advice. If it were my choice, I would think that at conception, it's a human life and it deserves protection in the womb. That's my personal belief. At the same time, I respect people that disagree with me. I don't think they're horrible people, and I try to have discussions about this very emotional topic in that direction. A lot has been happening in Arizona when we've defaulted back to a law that was originally written in 1864 and then reaffirmed in the 1970s here in the state of Arizona. And there was a very heated discussion, as it should be. And one of the parts of the fallout of that happening is one of the Arizona Supreme Court justices, his name is Clint Bolick, is possibly going to be removed in the voting process, because there is an organization going after him, and that they want to remove him from office or from that position. And let me explain why I think this is unfair. First of all, full disclosure, I've known Mr. and Mrs. Bolick for a long time. Don't know them very, very well, but I do know them enough to be friendly and say hello. When Clint Bolick was with the Goldwater Institute, I would have him as a guest once in a while on my show because he's a brilliant man. We didn't always agree on things. We agreed most of the time on things. But when we disagreed on something, I would reach out to him because he was one of the people that I knew was smart enough that if they made a point that might change my mind or certainly question my position, and I think that makes you a better person in an argument. I just do. He's a good man. I just like them. I like them both. And a lot has been made about how things have happened where he made this decision by looking at the law. This is exactly what a justice on the Supreme Court is supposed to do. This is what we would hope for in the United States Supreme Court and what we would hope for here in Arizona when you look at a law and the way that it's written and the way that the law was written said if Roe v. Wade is ever overturned, this law will not supersede any other previous law. It was very clear in the text. And that's where the Supreme Court justices said, we have to go with the law that was written by the legislature. And then there were some Republicans that said the only way to fix it is to repeal it and replace it. So Republicans sided with the Democrats in repealing it. Now, I'll be honest, I have no idea where the Bollocks fall on abortion, on right to life or being pro-choice. I have no idea. But it just looks to me like this guy did his job. That he said he didn't say it was good or bad. He said, this is what the law says. And this is what the law says. Therefore, this is my ruling. And I don't know what more we can expect for someone. So for people out there that are pro-choice, and it's not just pro-choice people, it's the activists, that anybody that disagrees with me is horrible and evil and has to go. This is a good person. And I would say to you, if you would look at his entire record up to now and however long he would be on the court, he would be somebody that you would want on the court. He has got the temperament for it. He is as brilliant as there is out there of someone that knows the law, and he's just a good guy. And because he didn't rule the way you think he should rule, when he had in his mind, I don't know, I didn't talk to him about this, but I'm guessing I have no choice. I'm looking at how the law is written. This is what the law says. This is how the legislature wrote this law. If they didn't want this ruling, they shouldn't have written the legislation this way. And it seems to me that he may pay a political price for something that wasn't his doing. All because this issue has become so emotional that we throw common sense out the window. And it's all about revenge against people that disagree with us. If you're pro-choice and one of the justices said that we go back to this law that effectively gets rid of abortion, it's your fault and you have to go. If you're a Republican that says we can't default back to a law that was originally written in 1864, and the only way to fix it is to repeal it and replace it, and you side with the other side of the aisle and do that, and you are now a pro-life Republican, you hate that Republican that did that, and they have to go. Forget the rest of their life, forget the rest of their record, forget everything else they've ever done. This one issue now. And my choice would be that we remain a pro-life state. That's my personal opinion. I'll stand by it. I'll argue the point of why I think abortion is wrong. But I don't get to make the rules. And I also understand when you put somebody between a rock and a hard place, when they have a difficult decision to make, you're not always going to agree with that person's difficult decision. But if you have any respect for them, you realize, I don't know if I agree with you or I don't, but I understand the decision you made. When, going back to when Governor Brewer was in office and she had to make choices about Medicaid expansion, she had 3 horrible choices to make. They were really bad choices. And I believe she chose the lesser of the bad of the 3 choices she had because she had no other choice. I respect someone that says, I'm going to take the arrows because I think this is the best decision to make. What bothers me about this is the personal attacks that come along with it. You go and read the way that law was written. If you are someone that is adamantly pro-choice and you hate this 1864 law, go and look at the way the other law was written, and you tell me what choice the Supreme Court had. I just think it's a fair way to look at people and say the legislature should have written the law different then. They had no choice in what they were doing. It's tough. It's a tough decision, and I feel bad for them because I think they were put in a situation where they had to make a difficult decision. They made the best decision they believed they could individually, and now they're paying this political price for it that I don't think is a fair price for them to pay. I just don't.
Thanks for watching The Mike Broomhead Show. Tap to watch the first season of Amazing Arizonans, a KTAR News podcast. You can also click the button in the middle to subscribe.